The birth of fast food, ancient Rome's culinary empire. On a scorching summer morning in 79 CE, Marcus Ciricius wiped the sweat from his brow and lifted the heavy bronze lid from his most popular dish, a bubbling stew of fish, garlic, and Mediterranean herbs. The small clay pots embedded in his marble counter had barely cooled from yesterday's service, and already a line was forming at his thermopolium, ancient Rome's answer to the modern fast food joint. Like thousands of other street food vendors across the empire, Marcus had no way of knowing that in mere hours, Mount Vesuvius would freeze this moment in time, preserving his humble food stall for archaeologists to discover nearly 2 millennia later. What those archaeologists found beneath the volcanic ash would revolutionize our understanding of Roman civilization, an intricate network of quick-service restaurants that would put modern fast food chains to shame. Forget everything you thought you knew about ancient dining. This is the story of history's first fast food empire, a tale of cunning entrepreneurs, ancient franchises, and the forgotten culinary innovations that fed the greatest civilization of the ancient world. Welcome to the original fast food nation, where quick-service dining wasn't just a convenience, it was the cornerstone of an empire that shaped the world. The rise of Roman street food. A culinary revolution. The streets of Republican Rome in 174 BCE were a maze of sensory contradictions. While the elite dined on couches in their marble-floored triclinia, the city's working class, nearly 300,000 strong, faced a daily dilemma: how to eat when your apartment had no kitchen. The typical Roman apartment building, known as an insula, rose 6 to 8 stories high, its wooden upper levels a perpetual fire hazard. Cooking at home wasn't just inconvenient, it was illegal. Into this vacuum stepped a new class of culinary entrepreneurs who would transform Roman society forever. It began with a freedman named Lucius, who borrowed enough money to rent a narrow storefront near the Forum Romanum. Breaking with tradition, he installed something revolutionary: a deep L-shaped counter with large earthenware pots, dolia, sunk directly into the marble. These built-in vessels could keep food hot or cold for hours, an innovation that would spread across the Mediterranean like wildfire. Within months, workers from the nearby leather tanneries were lining up 3 deep for his spiced wine and hot lentil stew. Within years, copycat establishments sprouted up across every major Roman city. The Greeks had their street food traditions, certainly. Small stands selling fish and bread had dotted Athens for centuries. But Rome's thermopolia were different. They were engineered for efficiency, designed to serve hundreds of customers daily with a speed that wouldn't be matched until the rise of White Castle in 1920s America. Wealthy Romans initially sneered at these establishments, but even they couldn't resist the allure of quick, hot food served by expert cooks who had perfected their recipes through endless repetition. By 100 BCE, the phenomenon had grown beyond mere sustenance. Thermopolia became social hubs where merchants struck deals, politicians gathered intelligence, and the working class found community. The most successful owners began expanding, placing relatives or trusted freed slaves in charge of additional locations, ancient franchise operations in everything but name. These savvy entrepreneurs developed the first standardized recipes, ensuring that a customer could order their favorite fish sauce in Ostia and find it tasted identical to the one they enjoyed in Rome. The archaeological record tells us these establishments were far more sophisticated than historians once believed. Recent excavations in Pompeii revealed purpose-built water heating systems, ingenious ventilation designs, and even primitive refrigeration methods using packed snow imported from the mountains. Each thermopolium developed its own specialties. Some became famous for their mulled wine, others for their spiced meats or imported delicacies. Competition was fierce and innovation constant. But perhaps most fascinating was the role these establishments played in democratizing Roman cuisine. In the thermopolia, slaves could rub shoulders with freedmen, dock workers could share a counter with merchants, and women, often excluded from formal dining establishments, could enjoy a meal in public. The menus reflected this diversity, featuring dishes that fused Roman traditions with Egyptian, Greek, and Persian influences. It was globalization through gastronomy, 2 millennia before the term existed. The rise of Roman street food marked a fundamental shift in how humans organize their daily lives. For the first time in history, a major civilization had effectively outsourced its cooking, creating a model that would resonate through the centuries. The evidence suggests that by the time of Augustus, more than 90% of Rome's non-elite population relied on these establishments for their primary meals, a statistic that wouldn't be matched until 20th century New York City. The fast food moguls of ancient Rome. When Titus Claudius Venustus died in 43 CE, his funeral procession stretched half a mile through the streets of Rome. The son of a freed slave, he had built an empire of 38 thermopolia across 3 cities. His will, preserved on a bronze tablet discovered in 1954, revealed a fortune that would be worth millions in today's currency. But more intriguing were the detailed instructions he left for maintaining his food empire: standardized recipes, supplier contracts, and even profit-sharing agreements with his managers. Venustus hadn't just created a business, he'd invented the franchise model 2,000 years before Ray Kroc ever glimpsed a McDonald's. Archaeological evidence suggests Venustus wasn't alone in his ambitions. The ruins of Herculaneum revealed the business records of Julia Felicia, a former slave who parlayed a single inherited food stall into a chain of establishments specializing in exotic seafood dishes. Her genius lay in location. She positioned her thermopolia near the city's brothels, temples, and busiest intersections, capturing foot traffic at all hours. Graffiti found on walls across the city praised her signature garum sauce, a condiment so popular that merchants in distant Gaul advertised their inferior versions as Julia's recipe. The secret to success in the Roman fast food trade wasn't just about the food, it was about the money. Successful thermopolium owners operated as unofficial bankers, extending credit to regular customers and maintaining detailed ledgers of debts and payments. A fascinating collection of pottery shards from a thermopolium in Ostia reveals hundreds of IOUs scratched into broken amphorae, some dating back decades. These savvy entrepreneurs understood that a hungry customer today could become a loyal patron tomorrow. But perhaps no figure exemplifies the rise of Rome's fast food moguls better than Marcus Gavius Apicius. Not to be confused with his famous namesake who wrote on fine dining, this Apicius specialized in what he called the common man's feast. His innovation: the standardized menu. Archaeological evidence shows his establishments in Rome, Capua, and Baiae all used identical clay tablets to display prices and dishes. He even developed a primitive franchise manual, a series of painted panels showing exactly how each dish should be prepared and presented. The competition between these food moguls sparked an arms race of innovation. They developed sophisticated supply chains, contracting with specific farms and vintners to ensure consistent ingredients. They created branded serving vessels, some bearing slogans we'd recognize as advertising today. Most remarkably, they established a crude form of quality control. Traveling inspectors who ensured each location maintained standards. An intact papyrus from 67 CE details how one owner fired a manager for watering down the house wine, proving that brand protection was as crucial then as it is now. These entrepreneurs also wielded considerable political influence. A recovered inscription from the Forum reveals that during the grain crisis of 51 CE, the Senate consulted the largest thermopolium owners about food distribution. These were men and women who understood the pulse of the city, who knew exactly how much food the population consumed and where the supply chain might break. Their practical knowledge proved invaluable during times of shortage or civil unrest. But success in this cutthroat industry came with risks. The ruins of Pompeii tell us of Asalina, whose 3 thermopolia dominated the city's food scene until a mysterious fire destroyed her main location. Graffiti suggests sabotage by rivals, while her subsequent renovation receipts show she installed the ancient equivalent of a security system, a series of guard dogs and paid watchmen. The fast food wars of ancient Rome could be as fierce as any modern business rivalry. The sophistication of Roman street food, a culinary revolution. The clay pot that archaeologists lifted from the ruins of a Pompeii thermopolium in 2020 still contained its final meal, a simmering duck stew enriched with fennel, cumin, and wine. The modern excavation team could smell the spices preserved for 2 millennia beneath the volcanic ash. This wasn't the coarse gruel historians had long imagined ancient fast food to be. This was sophisticated cuisine, crafted for speed but never sacrificing flavor. Painted menus from thermopolia across the empire reveal a staggering variety of dishes that would put modern fast food chains to shame. While each establishment had its specialties, a typical menu board from 60 CE offered everything from simple flatbreads stuffed with seasoned chickpeas to elaborate concoctions like Icitia aumentata, spiced beef, and pork meatballs wrapped in caul fat and flash-fried in olive oil. These ancient hamburgers, as some archaeologists have dubbed them, came garnished with pine nuts and a fermented fish sauce that provided the same umami punch as modern ketchup. The real genius lay in the preparation methods. Terracotta vessels recovered from a thermopolium in Ostia show evidence of an ingenious double boiling system. Cooks would prepare massive batches of base sauces before dawn, keeping them at precise temperatures throughout the day. When an order came in, they simply added fresh ingredients to individual portions, creating made-to-order meals with assembly line efficiency. One vessel, still bearing its original measurements, suggests these establishments could serve a complex meal every 30 seconds during peak hours. Spices played a crucial role in this culinary revolution. A shipwreck discovered off the coast of Sicily contained a thermopolium owner's bulk order: peppercorns from India, cinnamon from China, and garum from Spain, proof that even street food vendors participated in Rome's vast trade networks. These exotic ingredients weren't just for flavor. Many, like silphium from Libya, were believed to have medicinal properties. Street food vendors essentially operated as amateur pharmacists, prescribing specific dishes for various ailments. The beverage program was equally sophisticated. While wine was the standard offering, it rarely came straight. Thermopolia specialized in caldum, wine mixed with hot water, honey, and spices, served at precise temperatures from specially designed vessels. These drinks were more than mere alcohol delivery systems. They were complex cocktails that changed with the seasons. Summer brought mulled wine chilled with mountain snow and flavored with rose petals, while winter saw heated concoctions spiced with pepper and roasted date juice. But perhaps most revolutionary was the concept of regional specialization. A thermopolium in Rome's port district might serve quick-fried squid and fish stew, while one near the Circus Maximus specialized in handheld meals that could be eaten during chariot races. Archaeological evidence from these establishments includes specialized cooking vessels designed for specific dishes, the ancient equivalent of modern fast food equipment patented for particular menu items. The true artistry of Roman street food lay in its adaptability. When grain prices soared, vendors created filling dishes from cheaper legumes. When new spices arrived from distant lands, they quickly incorporated them into traditional recipes. This constant innovation meant that the menu of a typical thermopolium changed not just with the seasons, but with the political and economic winds that swept through the empire. A recovered wall painting from a Herculaneum thermopolium shows something remarkable: numbered dishes with corresponding prices, essentially the world's first value menu. Next to each item, small marks tracked its popularity, ancient market research scratched into the plaster. These weren't just cooks, they were culinary entrepreneurs who understood their market with devastating precision. The ingenious architecture of Roman thermopolia. When Mount Vesuvius erupted, it didn't just preserve food and menus, it captured an entire ecosystem of architectural innovation. The remains of a thermopolium discovered in 2019 revealed something extraordinary: a sophisticated water heating system that would put modern food service equipment to shame. Counterweighted bronze pulleys controlled the flow of hot water through hollow tiles beneath the serving counter, maintaining precise temperatures in each embedded pot. This wasn't just a food stall, it was a marvel of ancient engineering. The genius of thermopolium design lay in its manipulation of crowds. The typical L-shaped counter created natural queuing spaces while maximizing the number of customers who could see and smell the food on display. Ground-penetrating radar studies of Pompeii's streets reveal that successful owners deliberately positioned their entrances to catch prevailing winds, allowing aromatic smoke from their kitchens to waft through major intersections. Some even installed copper strips in their chimney flues to impart a distinctive color to their smoke, ancient neon signs announcing "hot food here." Behind these counters, architects created remarkably efficient workspaces. A recently unearthed thermopolium in Herculaneum shows how owners maximized every cubic inch. Rotating shelves for amphora storage, stepped platforms that used gravity to filter wine, and ingenious ventilation shafts that created natural refrigeration when packed with snow from the mountains. Most impressive were the modular cooking units, standardized brick hearths that could be quickly repaired or replaced during the brief hours when the establishment was closed. The walls themselves acted as ancient advertisements. Beyond the famous frescoes of food and deities, archaeologists have discovered that some thermopolium owners used specialized plaster mixtures embedded with mica or crushed shells. These walls would sparkle in the sunlight or torchlight, drawing attention from passers-by. One particularly clever establishment in Ostia incorporated glass prisms into its outer walls, creating dazzling light displays at sunset, the ancient equivalent of golden arches. But the true architectural innovation happened underground. Excavations beneath major thermopolia have revealed elaborate storage systems, subterranean rooms with varying temperatures, achieved through careful airflow engineering. Different chambers maintained ideal conditions for wine, vegetables, or preserved meats. Most ingenious were the snow pits, deep chambers packed with mountain snow and straw, allowing establishments to serve chilled drinks and desserts, even in the height of summer. These buildings were also social engineering projects. Some owners installed different height counters to serve customers on foot or horseback, ancient drive-thrus for wealthy Romans who didn't want to dismount. Others created sophisticated sound dampening systems using hollow pots embedded in walls, allowing conversation to flourish even in crowded conditions. The most successful establishments even incorporated small shrines, making them not just restaurants, but religious sites where libations could be offered before meals. Water management showed particular sophistication. Rather than rely on public fountains, major thermopolia constructed private water towers on their roofs. These towers, fed by lead pipes from the aqueducts, created consistent water pressure for cooking and cleaning, while serving as emergency reserves during droughts or sieges. The water system in one Pompeii establishment shows evidence of ancient filtration, layers of sand, charcoal and gravel that cleaned water before it reached the cooking pots. The final touch was lighting design. Clay lamps recovered from thermopolia show specialized developments, wide-mouth designs that maximized illumination over dining areas, while focused beam lamps lit food preparation areas. Some establishments used copper mirrors to amplify natural light, while others installed revolving doors that helped maintain indoor temperatures while creating dramatic reveals of the interior to entering customers' ancient stagecraft that would impress modern restaurant designers. Feeding the Empire: How Roman Street Food Sustained an Empire. When Julius Caesar commissioned the reconstruction of Rome's wooden amphitheater in 47 BCE, he faced an unexpected crisis. The massive workforce, nearly 10,000 strong, needed to be fed without leaving the construction site. His solution revolutionized how Rome approached large-scale urban projects, a network of mobile thermopolia mounted on wheeled carts that circulated through the construction zones. These proto-food trucks proved so effective that they became standard features of major imperial construction projects, feeding the armies of workers who built the monuments we still marvel at today. The relationship between Roman street food and imperial power ran deeper than mere convenience. During the reign of Augustus, census records show that thermopolia owners received special tax privileges in exchange for maintaining minimum operating hours and price controls. These establishments effectively functioned as a privatized food security system, ensuring that even the poorest urban residents could access hot meals. When bread shortages struck, thermopolia became distribution points for government grain, their owners acting as de facto public servants. The military's dependence on this system was even more profound. A remarkable discovery at Vindolanda, near Hadrian's Wall in Britain, revealed requisition orders from Roman commanders to local thermopolia operators. These weren't just random purchases. They were carefully negotiated contracts ensuring that frontier troops had access to familiar Roman cuisine. The psychological impact was calculated, a taste of home that helped maintain morale at the empire's edges while gradually introducing Roman culinary culture to conquered territories. Politics and street food intersected in ways that would seem familiar to modern campaign strategists. Graffiti from Pompeii reveals that ambitious politicians would pay thermopolia owners to serve free meals during elections, carefully targeting establishments in swing districts. Some owners became powerful political brokers, their shops serving as informal campaign headquarters where deals were struck over steaming bowls of stew. One particularly savvy vendor near the Forum painted daily political commentary next to his menu board, becoming so influential that senators regularly sent slaves to copy down his latest observations. The empire's expansion created unique challenges for the street food network. As Roman authority spread, so did the demand for authentic Roman cuisine. Enterprising thermopolia owners established trading networks to source essential ingredients: garum from Hispania, olive oil from Africa, wine from Gaul. These supply chains became so crucial that when Vespasian reorganized Rome's port facilities at Ostia, he included specialized warehouses specifically for thermopolia suppliers, complete with quality control inspectors. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this system was its role in social mobility. A recovered will from Puteoli shows a successful thermopolium owner leaving his business to his former slaves, along with detailed instructions for maintaining his political connections. These establishments offered rare opportunities for social advancement, particularly for freedmen and foreigners who were excluded from many traditional trades. The Emperor Claudius even issued an edict protecting the right of Jewish thermopolia owners to serve kosher food, recognizing their importance to urban stability. The system proved remarkably resilient during crises. When fire devastated Rome in 64 CE, temporary thermopolia appeared in refugee camps within hours, their owners operating at reduced prices or even giving food away, not from altruism, but because they understood that feeding people was crucial to maintaining order. During the Year of the Four Emperors, these establishments became informal intelligence networks, their owners gathering and trading information that helped the population navigate the chaos. Archaeological evidence suggests that by the 2nd century CE, the empire had developed what we might call food security zones, areas where a minimum density of thermopolia was maintained by law. A recovered bronze tablet from Antioch details fines for property owners who refused to rent space to food vendors in designated areas. This wasn't just urban planning. It was crowd control through cuisine, ensuring that every major gathering place had sufficient food capacity to prevent unrest. The dark side of ancient Rome's street food. In 22 CE, a wave of mysterious deaths swept through Rome's Subura district. The victims shared one common thread. They had all eaten at the same thermopolium on the night of their deaths. The ensuing investigation, detailed in a recovered praetorial decree, revealed a nightmare scenario. The establishment's owner had been adulterating his wine with lead acetate, a sweetener that made cheap wine taste expensive but slowly poisoned his customers. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was the ancient world's first documented case of large-scale food fraud. Behind the bustling counters and aromatic displays lurked a shadowy ecosystem of contamination and crime. Recent analysis of human remains from Rome's poorest neighborhoods reveals endemic lead poisoning, traced not to the famous water pipes, but to cheaply glazed cooking vessels used in lower-end thermopolia. These toxic pots were manufactured in illegal workshops, stamped with counterfeit maker's marks, and sold to vendors who either didn't know or didn't care about their dangers. The criminal underworld's grip on the street food trade went beyond mere counterfeiting. Excavations of a thermopolium in Ostia uncovered hidden chambers beneath the wine storage area, stuffed with contraband exotic spices that bypassed imperial tariffs, counterfeit coins, and documentary evidence of an extensive protection racket. The owner's ledger, preserved on wax tablets, revealed how street food establishments were forced to pay local gangs for security, a practice that became so institutionalized that some gangsters even issued receipts. Health inspections existed but were easily subverted. A fascinating papyrus from Egypt details how thermopolium owners would maintain two sets of cooking vessels, pristine ones displayed during inspections and worn, damaged ones used for actual service. More disturbing were the shortcuts taken during food preparation. Analysis of carbonized remains from Herculaneum reveals that some vendors mixed sawdust with flour to stretch their supplies, while others used rancid oil disguised with heavy spicing. The social toll was equally dark. Many thermopolia became fronts for prostitution, gambling, and the sale of prohibited substances. A recovered letter from a concerned father to his son studying in Rome warns specifically about certain establishments where men go in for supper but stay for sin. The problem became so acute that Augustus attempted to regulate operating hours, requiring most thermopolia to close after sunset, a law that was widely ignored and eventually abandoned. Disease spread rapidly through these establishments. Analysis of cesspit contents near major thermopolia reveals high concentrations of human parasites, suggesting that food handlers often failed to maintain basic hygiene. During the Antonine Plague of 165 CE, some establishments became epicenters of transmission. Rather than close their doors, unscrupulous owners simply raised their prices, capitalizing on the desperation of those seeking hot meals during the crisis. The corruption extended into the supply chain itself. A remarkable court document from 83 CE details the trial of a meat supplier who sold thermopolia owners the flesh of animals that had died from disease. When customers became ill, the vendors claimed ignorance, but the investigation revealed an elaborate network of kickbacks and falsified documentation. Even more disturbing was the discovery that some suppliers were recycling leftover food from wealthy households, reselling it to thermopolia in poorer districts. The darkest revelation comes from a recently translated inscription found near the Circus Maximus. It suggests that certain thermopolia owners deliberately induced addictive behaviors in their customers through the use of imported herbs with mild narcotic properties. These additives, mixed into popular sauces, ensured repeat business while creating a population of dependent customers who would spend their last denarii on their daily fix. Thermopolia, the social hubs of ancient Rome. Long before Instagram and Yelp, Romans had their own version of social media, the walls of their favorite thermopolia. A newly excavated establishment in Pompeii reveals over 300 distinct pieces of graffiti, ranging from food reviews, Hermias makes the best lentils in the empire, to political commentary, vote for Lucius, he keeps our wine prices low. These weren't random scrawls, but a sophisticated system of social communication that transformed simple food stalls into the Roman equivalent of Twitter feeds. The power of these social hubs became apparent during the tumultuous reign of Nero. A recovered secret police report details how agents were stationed in specific thermopolia to monitor public sentiment. They noted not just what people said, but how they reacted to news, which establishments drew which social classes, and most importantly, which vendors seemed to know things before they became public knowledge. One thermopolium owner near the imperial palace became so notorious for his political insights that he earned the nickname Oracle of the Olive Jar. These establishments developed their own distinct social codes. Archaeological evidence shows that regular customers had their own cups kept behind the counter, marked with their names, the first known loyalty program in history. More intriguingly, some cups bore symbols indicating the bearer's profession or social status, allowing patrons to quickly identify potential business connections or allies in the crowd. A lawyer's cup found in one establishment bears the worn marks of thousands of toasts, suggesting decades of deals struck over hot wine. Romance flourished in these venues in unexpected ways. Love poems scratched into countertops reveal that thermopolia served as ancient dating spots. Some establishments even offered discreet message services, with notes passed between patrons via coded orders. A recovered love letter written on a wine cup tells the story, "When you order the spiced wine with extra honey, I'll know you're thinking of me." These codes became so elaborate that some thermopolia employed professional message runners who memorized hundreds of regular customers' preferences and signals. The role of women in these spaces defied Roman social norms. While elite women were expected to dine at home, thermopolia provided neutral ground where women of all classes could gather without scandal. Business contracts discovered in Ostia show women not just as customers, but as suppliers, workers, and owners. One remarkable document details a female vendor's successful lawsuit against a male competitor who tried to drive her out of business, evidence that these establishments offered rare opportunities for women's economic independence. Information flowed through these establishments like wine from an amphora. Sailors fresh from Alexandria would share news of grain prices over breakfast. Gladiators would discuss upcoming matches over lunch. Builders would trade architectural innovations over dinner. A single thermopolium could process more information in a day than a senator's entire network of informants. The smartest politicians recognized this. Evidence shows that some paid network of regulars to simply sit, drink, and listen. Entertainment evolved uniquely in each establishment. Dice games were common, but some places developed sophisticated betting systems around everything from chariot races to gladiatorial matches. One thermopolium near the Circus Maximus created an early sports book, with odds scratched daily onto a special board. Another became famous for its storytelling contests, where travelers would compete to tell the most extraordinary tales of their journeys, with free meals as prizes. But perhaps most remarkable was how these establishments preserved cultural identity across the empire. A Syrian merchant could walk into any thermopolium in Rome and find others from his homeland by following the scent of familiar spices. A soldier stationed in Britain could taste his mother's favorite dish in a frontier food stall. These weren't just restaurants, they were cultural embassies, maintaining connections across thousands of miles through the universal language of food and friendship. The timeless legacy of the thermopolium. The discovery shook the culinary world in 2021. A perfectly preserved hot food service counter in Pompeii revealed cooking methods identical to those used in modern Naples' street food scene. Local vendors, watching archaeologists uncover the ancient workspace, recognized their own daily routines fossilized in ash. The counter heights, the angle of the serving area, the placement of condiments, all matched contemporary Italian food stall design with uncanny precision. 2,000 years had changed surprisingly little. This wasn't mere coincidence. DNA analysis of sourdough starters from traditional Roman bakeries reveals strains of yeast dating back to imperial times, passed down through generations of bakers. The ancient culinary lineage survives in unexpected places. The curvature of pizza ovens in Naples matches exactly the dimensions of thermopolium bread ovens, while the method of displaying fresh food to passers-by, a practice now universal in Italy's food scene, began with those first street vendors of Rome. Modern archaeological techniques have revealed something even more startling. Ancient Roman fast food was arguably healthier than its modern counterpart. Isotope analysis of preserved food remains shows a diverse mixture of proteins, grains, and fermented foods that would impress any contemporary nutritionist. The Roman poor, dining primarily at thermopolia, often enjoyed a more varied diet than wealthy citizens who ate at home, a finding that has profound implications for how we view ancient urban life. The organizational echoes are equally striking. When McDonald's began standardizing its operations in the 1950s, the company unknowingly replicated many thermopolium innovations. The standardized cooking vessels, the precise serving temperatures, the careful traffic flow patterns. Even the modern franchise system, with its emphasis on consistency and replicable processes, mirrors the ancient Roman approach. The discovery of an imperial-era franchise manual, complete with standardized recipes and portion controls, could easily be mistaken for a modern employee handbook. Time management studies of preserved thermopolia reveal workflow optimizations that modern restaurants are only now rediscovering. The ancient Roman practice of pre-preparing common ingredients while maintaining the ability to customize individual orders mirrors exactly the hybrid cooking systems being developed by today's most innovative fast casual chains. Even the concept of ghost kitchens, delivery-only restaurants that have exploded in popularity, has a Roman precedent in the form of specialized cooking facilities that served multiple thermopolia. The social impact resonates through history. Just as Roman street food vendors helped integrate diverse populations in ancient cities, modern street food continues to serve as a cultural bridge. Today's food trucks and pop-up restaurants follow patterns of urban migration and community formation that would be instantly recognizable to a Roman thermopolium owner. The role of street food in providing economic opportunities for immigrants and entrepreneurs remains unchanged across 2 millennia. Perhaps most profound is the psychological legacy. The Roman innovation of making food preparation visible to customers, letting them see, smell, and hear their meals being prepared, tapped into deep human instincts about food safety and social trust. Modern research in consumer psychology has confirmed what Roman vendors intuited. Visible food preparation creates confidence and builds customer loyalty. The open kitchens of modern restaurants are direct descendants of the thermopolium counter. As cities grapple with issues of food security and urban dining, the Roman model offers surprising insights. Their solution to feeding a massive urban population while maintaining food safety and public health, a regulated network of small, independent vendors, may be more relevant now than ever. As modern cities grow larger and more complex, the ancient Roman understanding that street food is not just about cuisine, but about community, takes on new significance. The eternal legacy of Roman street food. On a sweltering summer evening in modern Rome's Testaccio district, Marcello Rapisarda pulls a steaming tray of supply from his copper-lined food cart. The crispy rice balls, descended from ancient Roman street food, draw crowds just as they did 2 millennia ago. But Marcello's cart harbors a secret. It's built to the exact specifications of a thermopolium counter found in the ruins of Ostia Antica. His experiment in archaeological gastronomy has transformed into one of Rome's most celebrated culinary attractions. The global revival of Roman street food techniques has spawned a culinary revolution that even the most ambitious thermopolium owner could never have imagined. In Singapore, a tech startup uses artificial intelligence to analyze Roman recipes and create modern fusion dishes. Their most popular creation, an Asian-Roman hybrid dumpling filled with a sauce derived from garum recipes found scratched into ancient pottery shards. The waiting list for their food stall stretches 6 months. Experimental archaeologists working with modern chefs have uncovered something extraordinary. Roman cooking techniques solved problems that still plague modern kitchens. The discovery that ancient vendors used fermentation not just for preservation, but for flavor enhancement, has spawned a new wave of probiotic fast food. A chain of Roman-inspired quick-service restaurants in California now maintains its own fermentation lab, where food scientists study bacterial cultures preserved in ancient amphorae. The architectural influence extends beyond mere aesthetics. When Barcelona redesigned its famous La Boqueria market in 2023, architects drew direct inspiration from thermopolium layouts. The result was a 30% increase in customer flow and a significant reduction in food waste. The project's success has sparked similar renovations in markets from Mexico City to Melbourne, each adapting ancient Roman principles to modern needs. Climate change has given Roman food preservation techniques new relevance. As energy costs soar, restaurants are rediscovering the passive cooling systems used by thermopolia. A pioneering street food venture in Dubai uses solar power and ancient Roman water cooling principles to maintain food temperatures, consuming 60% less energy than traditional food stalls. The system's design came directly from archaeological studies of thermopolium refrigeration methods. The social aspect of Roman street food has found new life in the digital age. A popular food delivery app in Italy now features a Roman route option, allowing customers to order from vendors who strictly follow ancient recipes and preparation methods. Each participating stall is required to maintain the same level of social interaction that characterized ancient thermopolia. Customers don't just get food, they get conversation, community, and connection. Most remarkably, the Roman understanding of street food as a tool for urban stability has gained new relevance. Cities from New York to Tokyo are studying the ancient Roman model of distributed food vendors as a solution to food deserts in urban areas. The idea that every neighborhood should have access to affordable, freshly prepared food, a concept the Romans understood intuitively, is reshaping urban planning. As night falls in Testaccio, Marcello serves his last customer. The scene could be from any era in Rome's history. Tired workers seeking a hot meal, neighbors sharing news over wine, tourists discovering local flavors. The faces and languages may change, but the essential truth remains. Street food is more than sustenance. It's the thread that binds urban life together, as vital to cities now as it was when the first thermopolium opened its counter to the hungry citizens of Rome. In the end, perhaps this is the greatest legacy of Roman street food: the understanding that a city's health can be measured not by its monuments or markets, but by how well it feeds its people. As modern civilization grapples with questions of sustainability, community, and urban living, the answers may lie in those ancient counters where Rome's masses gathered to share a meal and shape an empire.